Okay, the time is 6 p.m. Notice is hereby given that the above call meeting of the governing body of the city of Balcones Heights, Texas will be held on Monday, December 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Justice Center, located at 3300 Hillcrest Drive, Balcones Heights, Texas 78201, to consider and act upon any lawful subjects which may come before said meeting, including, among others, the following items to be discussed and acted upon. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone glad you had a good, happy Thanksgiving. Happy tidings to everybody. We're going to call to order and recording of quorum. We have a quorum present. Now we're going to do the invocation and pledges of allegiance to the USA and Texas flags. Who does it fall to this time? Okay, Jack Burton was last time. Okay.
I haven't memorized just yet. Oh, Heavenly Father, we are gathered here today to form judgments and make decisions that will affect the lives of those committed to our charge. Please give us wisdom and understanding. Guide our decisions. May they be fair, just, and merciful. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, one state, under God, one.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Science. At this time, we have a public comment period. Citizens who have filled out a registration form prior to the start of the meeting may speak on any topic they wish to bring to the attention of the governing body, so long as that topic is not on the agenda for this meeting. During the citizens to be heard section, no council action may take place and no council discussion or response is required to the speaker. You know, one thing I think we missed, Councilman Sines, is did we do the invocation? We did. Okay. Yes, that's right. It was quick. I'm sorry. So do we have any public comment period from anybody?
No one has signed up, Mayor.
Okay. We'll move right on down to the business items. Number one, discussion and action to authorize the city administrator to enter an agreement with XBix for council furniture. Mr. Lotta, would you like to come forth?
So do we have to pick up where we left off last time, Frank? Because remember, we had a motion.
Well, because we lost a quorum, we have to have the motion all over again.
Okay.
Because it died. No, sir.
No. May I be recognized? May I be recognized?
Yeah, let me just finish with him real quick.
No, it's just since the meeting ended and the quorum ended, the motion was left pending and died because there was no vote. So in this meeting, we'd have to have a new motion.
Okay, because I was under the impression we had a first and then we had a second, right? And then at that point is where everything got
Correct.
corrected. And so that motion does not stand.
That's correct, because
Okay.
the meeting ended and under the Roberts
Okay.
rules, the meeting ends, the motion dies there.
Okay. Sometimes.
I move to make a motion to authorize the city administrator to enter an agreement with Zybiz for console furniture.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Sines. Do we have a second to that motion?
A second.
Okay, Councilman Sellers has seconded that motion. Do we have any further discussion on it? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Councilman Valverde?
Yay.
Councilman Sines?
Yay.
Councilman Lysia? Yay. Councilman Sellers?
Yay.
Councilman Burt?
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Number two, discussion and possible action to obtain a national market expert in commercial real estate to assess the current valuation of Wonderland of the Americas. Mr. Lotta?
Evening, Mayor and council members. So basically, attached in your packet was the letter from the current acting chair for the EDC, where it was discussed at the last EDC meeting about attaining services to get a third party to figure out our interest value in WODA and kind of even go beyond that. So what I've done is we received, so the EDC members, two of them gave us some names of some companies that can do that. I have reached out all three of them. If you want to know their names, CBRE, and you'll see them around. They manage a lot of properties around here, but they also do this kind of work, which is valuation of properties. And so the other one is, I think it's Jones, Lang, and LaSalle, JLL. And they also have responded and are seeking additional information. And then Economic Planning Systems, and they're working on also providing me some information. So currently, right now, I'm doing some background information, trying to figure out exactly what, based on the input that we received from the EDC, to perform this evaluation. And like I said, there was some additional looking at y'all's strategy on how y'all want to move forward. So they're trying to look at all these items. So right now, what I'm getting the feedback from at least two of them is they need more information. So I need to provide them information. I have yet to get an idea of how much this will cost. So I guess right now I'm not sure. Other than if it comes under, I think 50,000. What do you call it? The city attorney told us that we probably don't have to go out for bids. But again, I have no idea yet. And I'm trying to give them, trying to get them to give me a proposal. What are the deliverables from them so that I can bring that information to the council? If, however, the council wants me to proceed, if there is somebody who's less than 50, I can try to get them to come on the regular council meeting, give you all a presentation on exactly what they're going to do, their credentials, their experience, and what they can provide. Obviously, if they're all seem to be giving me an idea that's going to cost more than that, then we're going to have to go out for an RFP. And so that may just push it out a little bit further until January. So again, however y'all want to proceed or any questions y'all may have, I'll try to answer them as best I can.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do we by chance know who Sid uses?
I do not, unless somebody
That
else.
would be a good piece of information so that we don't.
I may have it here.
I don't believe any of these. These all three seem to be totally like, when I speak to them, at least for sure, two of them don't seem to have like, they're asking me for information. A lot more detail. Matter of fact, that's one of the things I have to do is figure out what is proprietary, that I do not disclose that at this point in time. And then I just gotta probably have to work that with the city attorney to make sure when, because probably a non-disclosure agreement may need to be signed by these people if they're asking for additional information that I cannot provide if it's proprietary. So
I just don't want to coincide with. I think there's it probably would be an issue. If we
Correct.
both use the same.
correct. And I may pose that to them if I working with any of these three, if it appears that they seem to be a viable option, I will ask them, hey, are you in any way affiliated with Wonderland of Americas or any of the owners of the WODA, so that there's no conflict of interest, which as professionals, they need to declare.
Anyone
Hmm.
else? Sam?
So we're just pretty much gathering the information to present. So right now, the direction is that we're looking for is exactly what?
Basically authorizing me to continue on and possibly share information with them so that hopefully I can bring you something in December that is more concrete. I didn't know where I would be at this time. I didn't know if I had at least somebody give me a proposal that I can say, hey, I got somebody who's like within the range that we can go ahead and proceed. But right now, I have no idea. So at best, I just need y'all's permission to continue on gathering information.
Gathering information without securing the services of any.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Uh,
Councilman
I don't know,
Feller?
maybe it just went over my head, but I would like to know why we're doing this. And if we do it, who are we going to give that information to?
Okay. Mary, do you want to help me out on that one since you're probably a little bit more versed than I am on that?
Sellers, what it is that there's been several interest into the mall of potential redevelopment of it. And one of the questions that keeps coming up in that discussion is, what is our position in terms of whether we're going to stay in as a investor? Meaning that, are we part of the equation of that development deal? Because a lot of them want to come in solo. They don't want to have any partners. They don't want to have Sid. They don't want to have anybody. They want to just come in, buy the property, redevelop it however they deem fit, and then move forward with the development plan. No, no, this is just where there's been bites, there's been potentials that have come forward. And as we're moving along, as my job as mayor, I've been trying to help our city with the mall, to see what opportunities are out there. Mr. Weiss is doing the same. Basically, I'm doing the job that Mr. Lorenzo was doing at that time, back then, for the EDC on behalf of the city, just trying to figure out a way as to how we can get ourselves positioned in the problem that we currently are in right now, where there's no income coming in. And so as a result, we're trying to find out where that particular soft spot is for us to navigate from. But we all collectively, and I say collectively, meaning the EDC board and everyone on that board, agreed that the primary recommendation that I had made was, you need to find out, first of all, what is it that we have? What's the value of what we have? Right now, we don't know what that mall is really worth currently. And so in order for us to make an informed decision, we have to first find out what the value of that asset is in terms of our position with our percentage of interest that we have in it. Because that's what we need. We're not worried about Sid Weiss, his interest, as far as his investment is concerned. It's a part of it, but it's not that. It's more of our position. What is our negotiation position from the point of an investment portfolio that we own 45.7% interest in that mall? What is our bargaining chip, basically?
Would it
In the
behoove
game.
us to wait on this until the escalators are in running condition?
No, because if a developer comes in right away and he wants an answer to say whether we're in or out, we have to be able to tell him, because he'll make the decision whether to make that $50 million investment into the mall and buying it completely and pushing us out of the picture, or the keeping us in the picture if an investor indeed wants to keep that component in, meaning he still considers investing and redeveloping the property, but with us still involved.
So you're interested, you're
We-
talking
we
about
are.
the mall itself.
Uh-huh.
And not-
And the property,
Okay,
land.
The property.
the
Now,
land and
The
the
property is,
building.
okay, that's a different story, because between Dave and Buster's and Via Bus, we have a lot of land right there that
Right.
is not used for parking. And I don't know why it's not built on.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's what these potential developers, that's one of the ideas some of them have, where they may want to go up, they may want to go this way, they may want to knock it down. We don't know. But when you start getting into negotiations with these developers, the first thing they ask is, who are the principals involved? Well, the principals are Sid Weiss and his partners and the city of Balcones Heights. So the second question to follow up is, okay, what is the position of the city in terms of, are we going to relinquish our interest in that property? And if so, for what amount? And the only way we can determine what that amount is get this estimate from a professional that can say, just like if you wanted to sell your house, you want to find out, what is your current market value of your home? And then this professional will also tell us, what is the value of our position in terms of its investment currently at its current market value?
Right, and then,
This way now we can say, yeah, we have a pretty good vested interest to keep this mall, or no, it may behoove us to get out of the mall because the investor is going to come in, purchase the whole property, land, including and everything. And then he does what he needs to do of course, then we still have the zoning regulations and everything that we oversee at that point, but we still maintain control. It's just a decision to make whether we're going to sell our interests or not, or we're going to stay in the game of, as an investor for the mall. That's basically what it boils out. And to make that determination, you get that commercial professional to come in to tell us what the value of that is. So then we know where we stand, the city and the EDC, in terms of bargaining chips.
Are you asking for bids or company to come in and assess the value? Or are you asking for us to look for companies that will give us,
It's both.
you have a
it's
particular company in
yeah,
mind?
I have three companies that were recommended by the EDC. So that's who I'm working with right now.
Just so you know, the two that were recommended were by Clay Benford, the attorney for the EDC. As I asked and talked to him, and I said, couldn't you recommend a professional that you know in the field that can protect our interests and do an investment portfolio analysis of where we stand market value right now?
And one,
Two of them off the top of my head.
and one of them I spoke today, exactly kind of what the mayor was explaining. They're not going to, they're going to go ahead and do, again, I'm just talking with them because we're trying to figure out exactly what all the deliverables will be. So one was, yes, well, it's easy that the getting the appraisal of the property, that's fairly easy. But then he brought up, hey, I need to know what the contract says, who controls all that, because he then at that point can determine, okay, what is it that you guys really own that y'all can market? And he'll give you a second appraisal that will tell you, this is what's really worth what you have.
And I understand that,
Mhm.
but before he does that, are we supposed to pay him for that information?
Correct. But right now, all I'm doing,
Right now, all you're asking for is to go for those three, one of those three.
Mhm.
And before they proceed, we're to be notified how much they're going to charge.
I'm hoping, yeah.
That's okay.
That's-
It's just going out for bid.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. Because what I'm trying to do is get them to give me a better understanding. So one, that will help me write an RFP if we have to.
Have to, yeah.
If not, I'm hoping that I can bring them to December's meeting and they can all present to you, each one individually, and tell you, this is why you should pick me.
And if I may add,
Mhm.
time is of an essence because of the situation financially that we are in which we have no revenue coming in off that investment. So as time progresses, more pressure gets put on the general operating budget that we have. And it's, as Mr. Messick mentioned the other day in the meeting, it's not dire yet, but we don't ever want to get to that point. So we're taking precautionary action. And this is a recommendation, so you know, that came from the EDC. So the EDC looked at this, reviewed it, and said, this is the best course of action to take, because we do need to know where our value is and where we stand financially in terms of investment, so that we can make a proper informed decision to stay in or stay out as soon as possible. And as we have these developers that are coming and they're starting to show interest, we need to have that answer, because without it, we can't give them a viable response. And they want to move sometimes pretty quickly. You'll get investors that come in, they say, we want to do the deal quick. Let's get confidential agreements signed up. All of a sudden, let's get moving because we want the property. Here's what we're offering. But at that point, you'll know where you stand in terms of what you own.
And then
What you own.
and the other issue is what's it going to be worth? Because if you sell out now for X amount of dollars and then 2 years later, you're like, shoot yourself in the head because it went to 20 million, and it's like, we left 10 million on the table because we let it.
Gives you the tools.
Yeah.
to make that
That,
decision.
that's what these folks trying to get a deliverable to kind of help you understand what is it that you really own and what's it going to be worth, not just today, but down the road based on the current agreement that you have with.
Councilman Barrera?
Yes, I hear selling the whole property. Is the partnership in agreement with that?
They have Mr. Weiss has expressed that if the right investor developer comes in, he has an interest in relinquishing him and his partners.
And if not, then we can actually sell just our part,
That's correct.
just to get out.
And this is why we need to get an understanding of where we stand so we can make that informed decision.
Okay, because I have zero trust in the partnership.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's quite okay. That's all right. I think that, Mr. Say, did you have a question?
Yes, I heard a little bit of, well, I think I heard everything that was said. One of my concerns is we are looking to move forward, but yet we're going to find out what we can sell on what portion is ours. Should we not be looking at that contract first, see what we can do before we start looking the other way?
Mr. Garza, maybe you can answer that.
I want to make sure that what we agree to can be done. I guess what I'm wanting to do is,
My
I don't wanna
understanding,
say-
and
go ahead.
I didn't negotiate the agreements, Clay Binford from the EDC attorney did, but it's my understanding based on my discussions with him that at any time the city has the right to sell its share.
okay,
It's not prohibited from selling its share. So this would allow for the city to have it properly evaluated to
Mhm.
make that determination. I also know from Mr. Weiss's attorney that if the right offer is made, he's willing to sell his share as well.
Right.
And so I think the consultant the market expert would assist the city in coming up with a proper evaluation and the pros and cons as to the pitfalls if you sold your share or if it was all sold.
right, yeah, okay. And that's what I'm looking for.
And the mayor is correct in one thing. The city still has control with its zoning authority as to what can go on that property. So it still has some control.
Okay. Okay, that clarifies it a little bit, but like I said, I just want to make sure that we do have a fully clear picture of what we can sell and what we can't sell. And my biggest thing is if we agree to everything and then we come to the end and said, nope, you can't do that. So, but I think that's enough, and somebody will clarify all that with this study that's going to be done.
And actually, like I
That's
said,
part
the
of it.
person I spoke with today from one of the firms, he wants to see some of that information because he wants to know what are we can do and can't do.
Right,
So they're trying to get a good appraisal so that he can tell you that, hey, this is what you can do based on what you guys agreed with. So-
Right.
So I
Okay.
mean, this one at least sounded very professional and knows, obviously, I guess, been through some of these things before.
okay, thank you.
May I be recognized?
Yes, please. Mr.
Thank you.
Sines, go ahead.
So yes, I was
Oh, I'm
fortunate.
sorry.
No,
Mr. Burton,
I'll
I'm
yield
sorry.
to him, but-
Mr. Burton made a point.
No.
He had asked earlier.
No, that's.
No, no,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
go ahead, Mr. Burton. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Sines.
There's no cameras, Jack.
My apologies.
No, I just wanted to say that I was fortunate enough to be part of that EDC meeting, and
Yes.
there were two aspects to this. So one was, as the mayor said, to get this corporate appraisal, right? To find out exactly what our stake is, how much our worth is, because the property has grown in value over the last few years since we made this deal. So our 45.7% has grown quite a bit. So just the taxable or the property tax has gone up like 40%. So market share will have gone up in the last couple of years. So having a good understanding of what our the value of our interest in the property is important for us. So we need to have that information. So I do support this, but the other aspect of it is that we as a council need to meet to discuss what our options are, what our want is as a city, so that we have present a united front. So when we get this, if we get an offer, we've already discussed it as a council and said, yes, this is what we will do in this situation. Or if they offer us, for buying out just our portion or whatever the situation is, we'll have discussed that. So I think that's something that we need to discuss. We haven't yet. It would, I believe, have to be done in executive session. Is that right? So I would recommend that we put this on the executive session for the December regular meeting so that we can discuss this as a council. What our appetite is based on a range of possibilities. So that is all I
And I
have.
think that's an excellent recommendation because then we get ahead of the game. And then when we're ready to make that decision with whatever information comes back, y'all can be ready. Councilman Burton?
I think we have some paths to kind of go into the December meeting with some thought. One is, you know, if Sid got something hot on the line, I'm pretty sure his take would be that the mall has lost value and try and pay us less than what we should be getting, because we're what, 5.4 million in, plus $100,000 per quarter payments on that note. So he's going to come back and lowball us. Whereas if somebody just comes in and buys the whole thing, we'll have a good feel for what we should be getting, because it shouldn't be 5.4 million. It should be higher than that. Then the other road is if Sid and we decide to keep going on and we get something in the mall which doesn't look, I mean, Five Below's been doing really well, but it doesn't look like it's going to help us out of our payments. He still wouldn't pay us. And the last meeting that I sat down with Sid and Gilbert was that he basically said that he was never going to make a payment to us. And that was, I'm paraphrasing there, but it was Mr. Rosenthal, Mayor Rosenthal, I should call him, and Sid and I forget the other investor that he invests with, but it was pretty much on the table that, you know, we didn't do our due diligence. He did his and we didn't do ours, and it's not his fault that we're not getting paid that money. So yeah, we need to figure out what avenue we want to travel, and if there's some viable things where we can get out of this and pocket some money for our interest and money that we invested in this. It is an investment, it's supposed to yield some investment, you know, qualities. So, you know, I think EDC we have an EDC this month.
Supposed to.
I think we need to ask them, you know, I know one meeting, I wasn't there, but I think Mr. Lisea was there, or Mr. Science, and was that the consensus of the EDC was, let's get out of this. I don't know if that's true or not. I wasn't there. But
He laid out the two things that were the main discussion. That's what we discussed in a nutshell.
but I think we need to kind of think about what each of us has in mind for this mall. And my thing is getting out and having some money to show for it. And that way we're not in the hole anymore for 5 point whatever million. So.
May I be recognized?
Yes, after you finish, Jack. Councilman Sines, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I think that's an important point, Jack. But one thing we need to consider is if that does happen, if we do get bought out, what do we do with that money? So depending on what it is, so we have to have a plan for how to reinvest that money into our city, streets, infrastructure, or something like that. Well, that's the point. We need to make sure we have a plan for it so it doesn't just disappear.
We need to repay what we paid into it, and the rest goes back to the note.
Well,
Pay the note off.
but I mean,
Or bond.
we're about 5 million or whatever. I don't know how much the exact amount is, but the property has increased in value. So we will receive some return on our investment. I don't know how much it is, 20, 30%, I don't know. But whatever that profit is from our investment, that's what we need to consider. How do we reinvest that into our city so we don't just waste it?
I would suggest a rainy day fund, bank it and keep it, because you don't know when hard times are going to hit again. Maybe times are going to be good.
We have a rainy day fund and it's
And I-
well funded for 3 months of city expenses. So we're good there. It's how do we use that to improve our city, to implement some of the ideas that we discussed during the joint EDC and council meeting. So there's some good ideas that were there. How do we implement those? How do we invest that into our city to improve our brand, as Mr. Jacob was talking about, how to and bring in higher, or people with more disposable income, right, to come into our city and spend some money and hopefully come in and live here, right? Because that's what we need.
And I hope we learned our lesson. Don't get involved in commercial property. We're not pros.
So I think with Councilman Sines' comments, go in line with what we probably want to do, a little workshop, maybe do a executive session to discuss these things as to what direction, and this is the preliminary proactive approach that we're going to be taking. I think it's commendable that we do that. If I may just give you a little quick, and I sent this to you guys from Mr. Binford. He gave us a quick little rundown. He said the asset was appraised in 2023 by its primary lender. And I asked him if it's okay to make this public. He said it was. By its primary lender at the value of approximately $40 million. After consideration of the existing first lien loan secured by WODA, there remains $16 million of equity, of which the city owns 45.72%, or approximately $7,315,200. Subtract our initial $5.5 million out of that, you're looking at a $2.5 million equity position, not equity, excuse me, return on your investment portfolio.
I think we could,
Basically.
if
Yes,
I
sir.
may, I think we could argue that we actually own 45.6% of the sale amount,
Yeah.
not the net amount,
Right.
because
And
what
that's-
Sid and his partners owe on it is not
Right.
what we owe on
And
it.
that's why we get these.
So that's why we have
appraisals.
these appraisals,
Yeah.
and that's why we have attorneys
Good
and
point.
everything coming in, because I'm not going to settle for
Yeah. And we should-
45.7% of the leftovers. I want 45% of the whole enchilada,
I concur.
which
I
would
think we
be
all feel that
$19
way.
million instead of
Yeah.
9 or
We
7.
need to get our maximum return back. And these professionals will be able to do that for us. So, Mr. Lotta, unless anybody else has any other questions? Mr. Tellers?
I'm going to make a
Councilman.
motion to go forward with item number 2.
Okay, so give Mr. Lotta authority to go ahead and move forward with communicating and getting initial appraisals
Can
of
we
cost.
clarify that? So to give him authority to move forward to
Gonna
get
make
the
a motion
the approval.
to have our city administrator obtain a national marketing expert in commercial real estate to assess the current valuation of Wonderland of the Americas.
Do we have a second to that motion?
A second.
Can
We have a second.
oh,
Do you-
Yes, I second.
Okay. Do you
Right.
want to?
Mr. Burton can still.
I was going to say,
amend it.
amend it to getting 3 bids from the companies and present it at the December meeting for council approval.
Okay, we have an amendment to the first.
Let-
So do we need to take a vote on the
Well, hold on.
amendment?
My understanding was that city administrator was going to meet with the 3, get an idea, give them an idea of what we're looking for. If the estimates are going to be above the
50,000?
state amount, we'll have to go off proposals, official proposals. So if his discussions are that they're below that amount, then he can bring those 3 to you to let you know, here's what they can do, here's what their prices are. You guys select which one of the 3 you want to move forward with, because they'll be below the statutory amount where you have to go out for proposals. But if they're above that, he's not going to bring anything back. He's going to go out for proposals if council gives him that direction. Either bring back if they're below the market, or if they're above the amount, then go out for proposals to get someone to bring back to council for approval.
Okay, how would you want the language proposed? If Mr. Burton, Councilman Burton would withdraw his amendment, Mr. Seller's original motion could be,
Well, his original motion is fine with the clarification that the city administrator bring that back, the 3 proposals, if they're below the statutory amount for bids. If they're above, then he's authorized to go ahead and move forward with the bidding process.
Mr. Sellers, are you okay with that?
When I made the motion, I was with the understanding that he has three people to bring that to. Okay, so the amendment is irrelevant.
Well, only if you remember the 50,000 threshold. That would be the breaker.
But again, I asked y'all earlier,
Mr. Sellers, your microphone.
before we make that decision on the three, we're gonna know how much it is on the
Correct.
December meeting.
Correct.
All that has been clarified. I should not have to repeat that in my motion.
Right, and I understand that. The only thing that we're adding is that if they're above the 50,000, you're also authorizing them to go off to the bid process. That will not be back by December. The bidding process requires notice in the newspaper and process that must be followed. So I just wanted to, that if it's below 50, he'll bring the three to you. If they're all three above 50, he'll have to start.
Then it comes back to the board.
Well, if I may,
Go ahead,
Mayor.
please
So
clarify, Mr. Simon.
the reason the attorney's saying this, David, is it allows the city administrator to move forward automatically with the RFP without having to come to city council to get approval for another RFP. So if they come back next week and say, hey, we can do it, but it's all of them are above 50,000, then he cannot do anything until he comes back to another city council meeting and then gets approval for the RFP. So the way the city attorney is suggesting we amend your motion is to also add the RFP language in there as well. So that way, if they come back next week and they all come back over 50,000, Mr. Lara can just move forward with completing the RFP or starting the RFP process without having to wait
We'll
for
let
us.
Jack amend it then.
No, all you have to do is just add that language in there, which we can do for you, but, and we, as long as you say that that's your intent and you're okay with it. we'll
If
move
you're good
forward.
with,
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, then we have the understanding of it. Thank you, Mr. Simon, for your assistance. So we'll look forward to. Yes,
Yeah.
so we have the second on the vote. Let's call for a vote. Councilman Valverde,
Yay.
Councilman Sines,
Yay.
Councilman Lysia,
Yay.
Councilman Sellers,
Yay.
Councilman Burton.
Yay.
Okay, 5-0, motion carries.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Lysia.
Mr. Sellers, I want to commend you for not wanting to move forward till you had full clarification. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. So number 3, consider an action regarding the election ballot of the 2025 Bear Appraisal District Board of Directors. So basically, if you want, Mr. Lara, you want to take it or just explain? Okay, just, they've been sending us letters from the county appraiser. They have an election and we have 3 votes to come out of our city. And they need our votes, like all the other cities that they've sent letters to participate in the election to elect these members to the Board of Appraisers. If anybody has done any homework on these guys, the list is there. And we get up to 3 votes of the list that they gave us. I do have personal knowledge of 3 of them that I know through my past experience. One just recently, Dr. Adriana Garcia serves on the city council. I met her just once when the board had invited me to go meet with them to determine that they were looking at, instead of 1-year appraisals for the properties, residential property, to go to 2 years, so that it wouldn't be so cumbersome for the property owners to be paying and having their taxes evaluated and have to fight for them every year. You have to, instead, it was to be every 2 years. So that's where I met Dr. Garcia. And so that's the only time I've met her. I understand she's a pretty bright lady. And then Leslie Seknowicz, all I know is that I think she served on the EAA board prior to me serving on that board numerous years back. I think her husband's an attorney, isn't it, Frank? Sekowicz, yeah. I think I know that. And then Dave Gannon, I have no idea who he is, but Mayor Riley from the city of Leon Valley sent an email in her support of him. So it's the pleasure of the council.
Mayor, Mr. Burton is asking to be recognized.
Oh, yes, Mr. Burton, go ahead.
Frank, in the past, have we ever given our votes to another city? Is that what we usually do, or?
Yeah, we have, because our 3 votes are so small that it really, when you look at the votes of the other governmental agencies, they're very small. So we usually give it to another governmental agency that's asked to support their candidate.
Is there anybody that would know who we have a recommendation to pass our votes on to?
Well, the mayor, Leon Valley, I believe the
Yeah.
mayor said was recommended there.
Dave Gannon, and I would recommend Dr. Adriana Garcia. Just first time I met her, she seemed like a really nice person. I've never met Leslie Saknowicz, but I know her husband's an attorney, and I think she may have served on the EA board.
You want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Burton. May I be recognized? Yeah. So I am not familiar with any of these people. I know Dr. Adriana Rocha Garcia by name only because
Okay.
city council for San Antonio, but the other ones I've seen on billboards around, potentially, but I'm not in the habit of voting for people that I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
So I don't know how we could vote for these people without having an information of where they stand on these topics or anything. So I would follow our precedent and either not vote or provide our votes to another city that has. Yeah.
Does anyone else feel the same way? Councilman Valverde, everybody else?
Feel the
Mr.
same
Lara, go
way,
ahead.
yes, sir.
So just some background information. Last year, y'all voted for Dr. One the mayor mentioned first.
Garcia?
Yeah, last year y'all voted for her last year, and there's a deadline, December 15th. That's why it's
So including this council that was left, that these 3 council members voted for?
Mhm. I don't know what the vote was, but that's
Yeah.
last year. I saw
Okay. So y'all
the ordinance that was,
collectively, I guess.
yeah, because there has to be an ordinance attached to the ballot. And yeah, resolution, I'm sorry, and attached to the ballot in order for it to be official. And so this is the only time you're going to get, and again, I don't know how we reach out to other cities, because as soon as they lose their council meeting, and if they can't get a resolution, then those 3
Oh,
votes
that's
go
right,
away.
time limit.
Yeah, there's a
How do y'all
time.
feel about going with your last vote, Dr. Garcia? Since y'all voted for her last time.
I don't have a problem. I mean, they're all legit people anyway.
I want him to serve. I really don't have a preference. I just mentioned that I met her. That's it. So whatever the wish of council. But if they voted for her last time, I don't see a reason why it'd be a problem.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to pass our votes to, is it Dr. Garcia?
I see. We have a second to that vote?
Second.
One second,
Okay.
go ahead.
Councilman
Let's say,
seconds.
I'm sorry, could
Any
you,
further discussion?
I just want to clarify the motion that Mr. Burton made. I didn't quite catch it.
To pass our 3 votes to,
Dr. Adriana Rocha Garcia.
oh, yeah.
So your motion is to actually vote for her with
No,
our 3 votes?
Yeah.
Okay. To her, not to another municipality or anything like that.
To her, right.
Okay.
However
Thank
you
you.
wish. Okay, we have a second. Any other further discussion? Okay, let's call the vote. Councilman Valverde,
okay,
Councilman Sines,
I'll abstain.
okay, Councilman Lysia, Councilman Sellers,
Yay.
Councilman Burton.
Yay.
Okay, we have 4 with 1 abstain. Thank you, council members. Let's move on down. We're gonna go now, announcements and comments and requests. Agenda item request by mayor and council be placed on a future council agenda. I don't know if anybody has anything right now. We can address that later if you like.
Yeah, just
Councilman
real quick, since we're on the topic of the Wonderland of the Americas, for a future agenda item, I'd like to see a report outlining the contract that we have with the Wonderland of the Americas
Okay.
and the partnership, with check marks of what has been completed, what has not been completed, what's pending, and what needs to happen. I know it's a big contract. I know there's a lot of stuff in there, but I want to make sure that we're crossing all our Ts and dotting our Is and doing our due diligence on that contract.
So you want to basically know where the occupancy rate is and all that stuff, what you're referring to?
No, well, that would be good, but also I want to see the actual partnership agreement. What components are in there that have been met, what components have not been met, and anything else in between
Got
that's
it.
missing.
Okay.
Noted, sir.
Okay.
Well, Mayor, what I may suggest is EDC attorney, he's the one that negotiated the agreement. He probably is best to give the council
Okay.
during an executive session, since he's also a consultant for the city EDC attorney, to give us an update with regard to that. Since he's
Okay.
So staff would take care of coordinating that.
Mr. Clay Benford.
I have an item.
Okay, anyone else? Any more comments?
I have an item to be placed on the agenda.
Okay, sure. Go right ahead, Mr.
I would like our code compliance personnel to be accountable for all the violations, the warnings and citations that they've given out since her employment here. I want accountability for her work history here. And I do have pictures on my cell phone that I will be presenting for proof, and I'll do that later.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Steph, you got that? Okay, good deal. Anyone else? Okay, so if we have nothing else there, those two items have been noted. Councilman Lysia and Councilman Sellers. We'll move into the executive session. At this point right now, discussion pursuant to 551071, attorney consultation on frontier disposal update. The time is it is 6:47 PM. And we will now be moving into executive session. Anyone in the room that's here will need to be, has to. And we're going to take a few seconds just for Councilman Lysia. He's going to step out real quick. We'll wait on. Anybody else needs to go? Okay. The time is 7:19 PM. This concludes our executive session. Thank you, gentlemen, for everybody for the meeting.
To adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a second by Councilman Sines. Mr. Valverde,
Yay.
Mr. Sines? Yay. Mr. Lysia? Mr. Sellers? Mr. Burton?
Yay.
Okay, 5-0, motion passes to adjourn. Thank you, gentlemen.